The top stories tonight in Y News. The government has already distributed 29.31% of the 11.25 billion peso financial assistance for residents in the National Capital Region greatly affected by the enhanced community quarantine.
The Health Department has halted the procurement of 4 sets of high-end laptops amounting to 700,000 pesos.
UP-PGH and Santa Ana Hospital reach full bed capacity due to COVID-19 cases.
The Philippine government is now conducting mandatory repatriation of Filipino workers in Afghanistan following the series of unfortunate events in the country.
Taliban fighters have taken over the presidential palace in Kabul 2 decades since they were overthrown by a U.S.-led invasion.
Haiti quake death toll now at 1,297. Good evening, Philippines and the world. We are now reporting live from Quezon City. Today is Monday, August 16, 2021. I'm Angelo Castro III. In the next hour, as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William T. First in the news, the government has already distributed 29.31% of the 11.25 billion pesos financial assistance for the most affected residents in the National Capital Region, or NCR. Meanwhile, Malacanang said that if there is no more fund for Kasayuda, no ECQ reimposition or extension will be implemented. Rosa Licos has the story.
A total of 3.29 billion pesos has already been distributed by the local government units in Metro Manila for qualified individuals and families greatly affected by the reimposition of enhanced community quarantine. As of August 15, 2021, at least 3,299,290 residents of Metro Manila have received government cash aid. Makati topped the list of LGUs in terms of financial assistance distribution. This was followed by Taguig City, Caloocan, Marikina, and Pateros. The LGUs are mandated to finish the financial aid distribution in 15 days. Meanwhile, Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque said the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases has no recommendation yet whether to extend or downgrade the existing community quarantine in Metro Manila after August 20.
All I can say is, walang ECQ kung walang ayuda. Kung wala na pong available, hahanap at hahanap tayo. And if need be, dun po tayo pupunta sa Kongreso for a supplemental budget.
The decision of the government on the quarantine status will also be based on data of COVID-19 situation and healthcare utilization rate. The Department of Health as well as the Palace said the effects of the ECQ reimposition on daily COVID-19 cases will still not reflect now, but it does not mean interventions are ineffective.
As I've said, after the ECQ that we have implemented, we wait for about 2 to 3 weeks before we can see the effects or the initial effects of these restrictions. Kung matatandaan nyo po, nung tumaas ang ating mga kaso noong March and April, nakita ho natin na unti-unti pa lang bumaba ang mga kaso towards the end and the early part of May. No? Towards the end of April and mga second yata week of May, nag-umpisang bumaba. At nakita natin na talagang nagluwag ang ating mga ospital mga towards the end of May already. So ganun po talaga because there is this incubation period of the virus.
The IATF will meet on the quarantine classification for the NCR tomorrow, and the issue is not expected to be discussed in President Duterte's public address tonight. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police cautioned the public to strictly observe health protocols amid the presence of the COVID-19 Lambda variant. PNP Chief Police General Guillermo Eleazar says they will implement stricter inspection in the checkpoint. Leia Ilagan reports.
There are still a number of people who continuously ignore the minimum public health safety and other quarantine protocols. This is despite the detection of the Lambda variant in the country. PNP Chief Police General Guillermo Eleazar says they continue to apprehend violators who seem not to mind the dangers of these COVID-19 variants.
Nakakalungkot na sa kabila ng patuloy na pagtaas ng mga kaso ng COVID-19 at sa mga pulit-ulit na ating babala na ibinibigay, ang dami pa rin nating nahuli ng mga violators sa nakaraang araw, itong huling 10 araw, sa Metro Manila at pati yung karatig na 4 na probinsya.
But Eleazar says they will not get tired of reminding people to follow the protocols to curb the spread of the deadly coronavirus.
Hindi titigil ang ating PNP sa pagpatupad nito dahil ito nakikita nating epektibong solusyon. Ganun pa rin, kami po ay naniniwala na marami ang mga sumusunod pa rin dito. Tayo po ay patuloy na makipag-ugnayan sa ating mga LGUs at sa ITF para po sa pagpatupad dito at pagpapalakas ng ating enforcement, lalo na at meron ng konfirmadong Lambda variant sa ating bansa.
General Eleazar also directed all police officers and units to closely monitor developments on the detection of the Lambda variant in the country. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The National Task Force Against COVID-19 reiterated that COVID-19 booster shots are still prohibited in the country. The government will also go after vaccine hoppers or those who register for vaccination in different cities in order to get more than 2 doses. Janice Inhente reports why.
The Philippines still lacks adequate supply of COVID-19 vaccines to reach its target to attain herd immunity. That is why the government is calling on fully vaccinated Filipinos to let others get their jabs instead of getting a 3rd dose for themselves. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez Jr. explains there is a better timing for getting their booster shots.
Ang sinasabi ng mga expert natin is mas maganda ang booster natin is doon na sa first month of the year 2022, the first quarter.
Experts have found that booster shots are more effective 9 to 12 months after an individual has taken the recommended doses of the jabs.
Ang Sinovac, may na sila na bumababa na before 6 months. No? Pero pag pinig ng isa, tataas naman ulit yun. So, ibig sabihin, may memory cell na nandun. Yung Pfizer and Moderna, meron din silang 8 months na bumababa na rin. No? Although, sinasabi nila hindi masyado, pero they're advocating nga yung 3rd dose. Yung Janssen, meron silang 8 months data na meron pang magandang robust antibody response and T-cell response at ang AstraZeneca may pinakamahabang published data 1 year yung sa AstraZeneca.
The government meanwhile says it will not tolerate individuals who register for vaccination in different cities in order to get more than 2 doses.
So ang pakiusap po natin, lahat naman po ng bakuna nagbibigay proteksyon. So antay muna po natin magkaroon ng bakuna ang karamihan ng ating mga kababayan bago tayo mag-booster shot.
Vaccine experts in the country are still studying the need for booster shots for immunocompromised persons or those who have a weak immune system. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines detected its first case of the COVID-19 Lambda virus in the country. It is a 35-year-old pregnant woman and has recovered after undergoing a 10-day isolation period. Aiko Miguel has the details.
Infectious disease expert Dr. Ana Ong Lim said that COVID-19 vaccines like Sinovac is still effective against any COVID-19 variants. She made the clarifications after reports that Lambda variant might have a much higher transmissibility. Based on the data they have released, Sinovac gave protection to those who have been inoculated with it in Chile and other Latin America countries.
We don't even have to look at other countries. Predominantly, ang hospitalization rate ng mga unvaccinated ay significantly higher compared to that of the vaccinated. Sa Pilipinas, meron tayong evidence to show na yung mga nao-ospital, they are mostly unvaccinated. And sa iba't ibang bansa, ganun din ang datos.
Meanwhile, the first known local case of Lambda variant in the country is still undergoing vaccination validation status. The DOH said they are continuously conducting backtracing of her close contacts.
So siya po ay currently nandun po dun sa lugar nila, and we are trying to coordinate. Apparently, based on record, she is also pregnant. Most probable, no? It's a local case kasi nakita po natin siya among the persons in the community at kasama po siya dun sa na-sequence kasi apparently may cluster, no? Kaya siya kasama dun sa na-sequence.
The DOH once again reminds the public not to be complacent and continuously observe minimum public health standards implemented by the government. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A presidential advisor recommends creating bubbles for fully vaccinated citizens. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority welcomes the proposal but emphasizes the need to inoculate more people.
The proposal to adopt the vaccine bubbles is only possible should herd immunity is achieved. This, as Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion recommends creating vaccine bubble in local government units who have already inoculated at least 70% of their population. The said bubbles will allow people who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 in malls and other selected business establishments. Concepcion says this will help entrepreneurs and other workers gradually recover from financial loss due to quarantine restrictions brought about by the pandemic.
At least a minimum of 70% of the LGU population should be vaccinated, and hopefully we attain that by October. The sooner we attain it, then we will at least see the end of lockdowns. The mobility of the unvaccinated should be confined really from their home to their workplace and back. No? With regards to the vaccinated, we believe that they should be given more mobility to allow maybe the malls.
Metropolitan Manila Development Authority Chairman Benhar Abalos Jr. acknowledges the recommendation to adopt the bubbles. However, Metro Manila LGUs in the meantime need to focus instead on the speedy inoculation of more residents amid other challenges.
Ang problema habang kasi nagsa-surge, you have to maintain several frontliners. At kung kulangin yung ICU mo at hospital mo, even your barangay health for the triaging, kailangan pa ng manpower. And where do you get your manpower? Doon sa nag-inoculate mo, sa inoculators mo. May mga doktor doon eh. Sana wag masyadong mangyari yun. Otherwise, it might hamper our vaccination efforts on the ground.
The National Task Force Against COVID-19 anticipates inoculating about half of the Metro Manila population at the end of August, while herd immunity is expected to be achieved in the capital region in September. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notifications. You may also follow us on Facebook. Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso has been admitted in a hospital after experiencing mild symptoms of COVID-19. The official's diagnosis came a week after Manila Vice Mayor Hani Lacuna tested positive for the deadly disease. Dante Amento reports.
The Malacanang allayed concerns that vaccines are not effective after Manila Mayor Isko Moreno tested positive for COVID-19 despite being fully vaccinated. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, with the help of the vaccine, Moreno is only experiencing mild symptoms. Mayor Dumagoso was brought to the Santa Ana Hospital as a precaution as he is experiencing mild colds, coughs, and body malaise.
May mga ibang laboratory test po tayong ginawa para sa malaman na kanya kondisyon, nag-chest CT scan. Normal naman ito. So, ang impression ay mild COVID ang kanyang sakit. So, currently, nagtitake po siya ng oral antibiotics, may vitamins at supplements. At ito ay kanyang tinitake regularly, no? Stable ho siya at the moment, komportable ang kanyang kondisyon at nakakatulog po ng mabuti.
The Manila mayor is expected to remain at the hospital for at least 2 weeks.
After 2 weeks, symptom-based po yan, no? So, hopefully mag-rest siya, no? After the 2 weeks period, and then depende sa ano ang maging course ng kanyang kalusugan dito sa ospital. Kasi right now, inoobserbahan natin. So we want him to be fully recovered, no, kaagad sa kanyang kondisyon.
However, Dumagoso will remain in charge of the city government while recovering. The palace expressed hope for the mayor's quick recovery.
Well, unang-unang po, we wish Mayor Isko Moreno good health. We hope that he gets well soon. No?
Meanwhile, Manila Vice Mayor Hani Lacuna Pangan, who is also contracted COVID-19, is expected to be discharged next week. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Several hospitals in Metro Manila have reached full capacity as COVID-19 cases in the country continues to surge. JP Nunez explains why.
Around 20 COVID-19 positive patients are waiting to be admitted and are currently recovering at a makeshift tent outside the Santa Ana Hospital in Manila. 150 COVID-19 patients are now confined at the hospital, reaching its full bed capacity.
Mapahanggang ngayon, no, may mga 10 to 20 patients po sa ating tents at saka emergency room na waiting po ng kanilang mga kwarto. Sila po ay mga COVID positive patients po. So, punong-puno talaga.
The Santa Ana Hospital is temporarily not accepting COVID-19 patients. Meanwhile, the Philippine General Hospital has reached a new peak in COVID-19 cases at 260 patients, prompting the PGH management to suspend its non-COVID outpatient services. PGH spokesman Dr. Jonas Del Rosario said the hospital has increased its bed capacity to 300 beds to accommodate the soaring number of patients infected with the virus.
Minarapat po namin i-expand yung COVID at maging at least 300 beds. Kaya para po magawa namin yung kailangan namin ng tao, no? Mga nurses, doctors, at iba pang mga frontliner support staff na i-google ang atensyon sa COVID patients po. Kailangan muna po naming bawasan o isara yung iba naming lugar na non-COVID.
Meanwhile, the One Hospital Command Center also accepts non-COVID-19 related cases for hospital referral. Patients may reach their hotline number at 1555 for telephone users or 0919-977-3333 for smart subscribers and 0915-777-7777 for Globe users. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippines today logged 14,610 new cases of the novel coronavirus disease or COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally to 1,755,846. The Department of Health or DOH said the latest tally pushed the country's number of active cases to 106,672. Of these cases, 96.1% are mild, 0.9% are asymptomatic, 0.89% are moderate, 1.3% are severe, and 0.7% are in critical condition. Meanwhile, total recoveries rose to 1,618,808 after 10,674 more patients recovered from the disease. The death toll from COVID-19 also climbed to 30,366 with 27 new fatalities. 7 accredited testing laboratories failed to submit their data on time. Meanwhile, the current global case load and death toll stood at 207,273,297 and 4,364,409 respectively, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The U.S. is the worst hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 36,680,112 and 621,635 respectively. In terms of infection, India follows with 32,225,513 cases and 431,642 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes second with 569,058 fatalities. The other countries with more than 6 million confirmed coronavirus cases are Russia, France, the United Kingdom, and Turkey.
And in other news, the health department has halted the procurement of 4 sets of high-end laptops amounting to 700,000 pesos. They assure that all needed documents for audit completion will be submitted to Commission on Audit or COA by September. Aiko Miguel has the story.
The Department of Health was in the process of acquiring 4 sets of high-end 2-in-1 laptop earlier this month. Each set cost 125,000 pesos. Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega confirms they were planning to procure it for the agency's knowledge management and information technology, but the transaction was put on hold until further market study has been made.
However, to date, the procurement transaction was put on hold pending the result of the further market study and prevailing market price for these laptops.
On the other hand, the DOH already gave their response to Commission on Audit's report on the deficiencies of COVID-19 funds. The agency explained that directives were given to the concerned operating units to immediately submit complete documentation in support to the liquidation of the agency's cash advances. The DOH insisted no COVID-19 funds were put to waste, and COA even issued a clarification that the deficiencies does not mean funds were lost to corruption.
Mga kababayan, hindi po to nasayang. Due to enactment of continuing appropriations of Bayanihan 2 funds, hindi rin po ito nasayang because those procurement and other COVID-related activities which were not accomplished last year due to varying factors were done in the first semester of the current year. This includes procurement of vaccines, whose negotiation did not proceed in the later part of year 2020.
The DOH is confident that they can complete all the necessary documents to COA within 60 days.
Ang pagsusuri po ito ng COA ay bahagi ng normal na proseso ng checks and balances ng ating gobyerno. Ito po ay ginagawa taon-taon at lahat po ng opisina ng gobyerno ay binibigyan ng mga ganitong obserbasyon. Handa po ang DOH na sagutin at ipaliwanag ang mga resulta ng pagsusuri na ito at isumite ang mga dokumentong kailangan po ng Commission on Audit.
The DOH says they are ready to face an investigation on said COVID-19 funds deficiencies. Once the DOH completes all documents, this will still be scrutinized and COA will have to again issue a consolidated annual report on the DOH's expenses using 67.3 billion pesos COVID-19 funds. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Labor and Employment has clarified there are no anomalies involved in the deficiencies found by the Commission on Audit in its use of funds, especially the financial aid to workers affected by the pandemic. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Labor Secretary Sylvester Abello III maintains that the agency has been compliant with auditing rules and regulations and the use of public funds. This comes after the 2020 annual audit report of the Commission on Audit showed that it flagged unliquidated cash advances worth 1.57 billion pesos. According to COA, this exposes the public funds to possible risk of misuse. The cash advances were granted to labor attachés for the operations of Philippine Overseas Labor Offices or POLO, and for the implementation of COVID-19 programs to workers affected by the pandemic. These are the COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program or CAMP, which gives one-time financial assistance worth 5,000 pesos, an emergency employment program called TUPAD, and the ACA program, which provides one-time financial aid worth $200 or 10,000 pesos for displaced OFWs. The state auditors noted that due to insufficient control measures and lack of master list, the grant of financial assistance resulted in excessive or multiple payments to over 200 beneficiaries, denied claims, and unclaimed amounts in money remittance centers.
Nagtataka ako bakit may ganun lumalabas dahil alam mo 2 taon na sunod-sunod unqualified ang aming COA rating. Highest rating yan ng COA. Ibig sabihin,
According to Director Ronnie Francia, around 78% of the reported unliquidated cash advances in the central office has been resolved as of last month. He says there were beneficiaries who failed to claim their financial aid after changing their contact numbers.
We would like to strongly correct reports that we have abused or the administration of funds, especially for assistance to our workers, are prone to abuse, and that there is nothing we are doing about the unliquidated cash advances.
Francia adds it is unfair to lay the blame on the department after a security agency mentioned in the COA report deducted the subsidy in the salary of an employee who is a beneficiary of camp.
Kasalanan ba naman ng Department of Labor na kung masyadong gigil na kumpanya o ahensya ng security na ito ay babawasin mula sa kanyang sweldo ang ibinigay ng gobyerno para mabigyan diin lamang ang sinasabing pagkukulang ng department. I don't think that is fair.
The department says it will study the possible penalty for the security agency, but the financial aid that was deducted from the salary should be returned to the employee. DOLA adds it has complied with the recommendations and observations of COA and will submit an updated report within 60 days. Jorge Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, National Security Advisor Secretary Hermogenes Esperon hopes that the Commission on Elections would resolve the petitions against two party-list groups. These groups are believed to be fronts of the communist group. Nel Maribuhok reports.
The National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-ELCAC believes the two petitions filed before the Commission on Elections is a national security issue that needs to be resolved immediately. The government task force has filed two separate petitions against Gabriela Women's Party and the Kabataan Party List seeking the cancellation of their registrations in the party list system for violations of the election law and the Constitution. According to NTF-ELCAC spokesperson attorney Marlon Bosantog, they have evidence to prove that the Kabataan Party List is allegedly linked to CPP and PANDF.
We have a witness from the time it was created to its constitution, to its purpose. We have witnesses that can testify as to the recruitment of the Kabataan Party List as a funnel for NPA fighters. We have testimonies that would show that the current sitting representative of Kabataan Party List personally recruited and informed them to go to the mountains in bear arms against the government.
But Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago immediately denied the allegations. The lawmaker also expressed readiness to answer the allegations. National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon testified before the COMELEC 2nd Division through a teleconference last August 12 regarding the petition against Gabriela Party List. The petition is based on grounds that Gabriela receives financial assistance from a foreign government and non-government organizations, which violates the Constitution and the COMELEC rules.
And upon further verification by AMLAC, we found out that Gabriela had been receiving funds from Belgian government as well as Belgian NGO as well as other NGOs in Europe.
Gabriela Party List Representative Arlene Brosas has also refuted the allegations.
Puro mga kasinungalingan, kung ano-anong claims po ang mga sinasabi sa atin dyan sa pagkakaso sa atin sa COMELEC. Dahil ang gusto talaga ay hindi tayo makatakbo.
The NSA hopes the petitions will be resolved by the poll body before the 2022 elections comes. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Malacanang encourages parents to enroll their children for the upcoming school year 2021 to 2022. Marvin Callas reports.
Amid the continuously growing cases of COVID-19 in the Philippines, the national government persuades parents and guardians to enroll their children for the incoming school year. The Department of Education opened the enrollment for academic year 2021 to 2022 today, which will run until September 13 or a period of less than a month. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says that classes will remain under a blended learning system. Also, partial and full-scale face-to-face classes remain prohibited.
Ang gusto lang naman ni Presidente ay magkaroon ng sapat na populasyon na mabakunahan at baka naman po susubukan din natin ang mga face-to-face. So, enroll po tayo. Hindi naman po forever itong blended learning. May katapusan din po itong pandemyang ito.
Same as last year, a remote enrollment system will be implemented for students for the approaching school year. This is based on the DepEd Memorandum Order number 32. In Metro Manila, since the region is still under ECQ, several schools remain closed for enrollment, while several others have provided drop box in front of their school gates where parents or guardians may drop a student's registration form physically. DepEd has earlier announced that classes will officially start on September 13, 2021 and will end until June 24 next year. Marvin Calas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
News: the Philippine government is now conducting mandatory repatriation of Filipino workers in Afghanistan following the series of unfortunate events in the country. Ray Pelayo will tell us why live. Yes, Ray, good evening. How many OFWs are already in transit or being repatriated as of this time?
Good evening, Will. The Department of Foreign Affairs says that 32 Filipino workers in Afghanistan have already been flown to Doha, Qatar, and are waiting for their flights to return to the Philippines. According to DFA Assistant Secretary Ed Menyes, they are currently undertaking arrangements for the repatriation of the remaining Filipinos still left in the Afghanistan capital, Kabul. The DFA reports there are around 130 Filipinos in Afghanistan. Most of them are working in private American and foreign firms as professionals. Among the Filipinos scheduled to be repatriated from Afghanistan is Manuel Ray Gunabe, who has been working there since 2009. He says that foreign workers are still allowed to go to work on the condition that they will abide by the set of ground rules. Despite the the government's repatriation effort and the present situation in Afghanistan, several Filipinos refuse to leave the country, which is experiencing chaos. But for Manuel, seeing his family again is what he wants right now. But if given a chance, he would still return to Afghanistan to work. Here's our interview with Manuel Ray Gunabe.
Kasi when it comes to security, mas matindi security namin dito. Wala kang mababalitaan ng mga kabayan natin dito na sinaktan. Kasi once kami, pagbuhatan mo kami ng kamay dito, kay general ka pa, kay manager ka pa ng kumpanya, bibit-biting ka ng MP, pauuwiin ka. Ganyan ang batas dito.
The palace has asked the family of OFWs to convince their loved ones to come back home for their safety. Here's what Secretary Harry Roque stated.
Nanawagan po kami sa mga kamag-anak sa Afghanistan, pauwiin nyo na po dito sa Pilipinas yung ating mga kababayan para masiguro ang kanilang seguridad.
The Philippine government assures it is exploring all possible means and it is closely coordinating with governments and international partners to guarantee the immediate and safe passage of Filipino evacuees. The Philippine Embassy in Islamabad, Pakistan, is in jurisdiction in Afghanistan. Filipinos in Afghanistan. Filipinos who wish to avail of the repatriation program may contact the Philippine Embassy in Islamabad via its WhatsApp and Viber accounts 92333-524462. Back to you, Will.
Yes, thank you very much, Ray Pelayo, for that live report.
For the news abroad, Taliban fighters have taken over the presidential palace in Kabul on Sunday after 2 decades since they were overthrown by a US-led invasion. Annie Mancilia will tell us the details live. Yes, Annie?
Elsie, the Taliban insurgents have seized nearly all of the Afghanistan cities in just over a week, facing little resistance from Afghanistan's army. Spokesman for the Taliban's political office, Mohammed Naeem, said on Sunday that the war in Afghanistan is over and the form of regime will soon be announced. He further reassured that the Taliban will guarantee the safety of Afghan citizens and diplomatic missions, and they are keen on having peace with everyone. A senior Interior Ministry official reported that the Taliban reached Kabul from all sides with sporadic gunfire being heard around the city, and allegations that the airport had come under fire. Meanwhile, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani said in a Facebook post that he fled the country to avoid bloodshed. Mr. Ghani did not disclose his current location. Elsie?
Annie, are there more information about the situation of civilians in Afghanistan?
Elsie, residents of Kabul were shocked by the quick takeover of the Taliban and the lack of resistance from the Afghanistan army. Many also did not expect their president to flee, with some calling him a coward for leaving them in chaos. Hundreds of Afghans, including government ministers, employees, women, and children, filled the airport in Kabul as they desperately wait for flights out of the country. But there are reports that all commercial flights out of Kabul's main airport have already been canceled. More than 60 nations have called on all those involved in the Afghanistan war to respect and make the evacuation of foreign nationals and Afghan citizens possible. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Annie Mancilia, reporting live from Singapore. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has called for a snap elections in September. This came after his meeting yesterday with Governor General Mary Simon to request she dissolve Parliament. Trudeau said Simon had accepted his request, which triggers the election campaign. In sending Canadians to the polls, Trudeau is hoping to capitalize on the success of provincial leaders in recent elections.
We've made too much headway to beat this pandemic and build a stronger country for anyone to have our hard work undone. Conservative politicians would have us turn away from the opportunity the world is embracing and instead look to the failed ideas from the past. But going backwards won't secure our future. It won't make us safer. It won't secure good jobs or clean air. And that's what really matters. Because with hard work, and yes, with hope, always with hope, we can take real action. We can keep moving forward. And that's the choice Canadians face in this election.
Haiti suffers from a powerful 7.2 magnitude earthquake last Saturday. The number of confirmed deaths continues to rise, and rescuers expect more fatalities over the next few days. Marvi Delphine will tell us why live. Marvi?
LC officials in Haiti have confirmed that an unknown number of people are still missing after the devastating earthquake hit the nation on Saturday. As of now, there is also an estimated 5,700 more people who were injured, while the death toll rose from 300 to 1,297. Rescuers continue to desperately search for any survivors after thousands of buildings and communities were flattened by the earthquake. The epicenter of the quake was identified by the U.S. Geological Survey, or USGS, to be 12 kilometers away from the town of St. Louis du Sud. However, the tremor traveled 125 kilometers towards the Port-au-Prince capital. The poorest city of Lecay in southwest Haiti suffered the most severe damages. Residents have been frantically trying to rescue trapped victims since the earthquake hit, according to Archdeacon Abiadi Luzama, head of Lecay's Anglican Church. Prime Minister Ariel Henry declared a state of emergency for 1 month as the hospitals are now overwhelmed with injured victims. Since then, international help has been organized by multiple organizations to aid the impoverished nation. U.S. President Joe Biden authorized an immediate U.S. response to provide help through U.S. aid. The UN will support search and rescue operations, and Dominican Republic will send food and medical supplies, while Cuba will deploy around 250 doctors. Elsie?
Marvy, the earthquake seriously impacted Haiti, but is the country bracing for other events?
Elsie, the earthquake multiplied the stress of the Haitians as the country tries to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. And it is expected that the tropical storm Grace will further bring in torrential rains to the already shaken country. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Marvy Delphine, live from Australia. Japanese professional tennis player Naomi Osaka has pledged to donate her tennis earnings from next week's Western Southern Open to support earthquake relief efforts in Haiti. Naomi's father hails from the Caribbean nation. The four-time Grand Slam champion took to Twitter on Saturday to express her support and intention to help. She announced her pledge in response to the magnitude 7.2 quake that struck the country, killing more than thousands and injuring hundreds. She has frequently used her platform to advocate for several causes, such as the Black Lives Matter movement and mental health awareness. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with the final word giving glory to God from the book of Proverbs 11:23. It says, "The desire of the righteous is only good, but the expectation of the wicked is wrath." And those are the reasons behind the news, August 16, 2021. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.